Well, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keeping It Real with America's Supermom. I'm excited because I have a guest. We actually got connected on the Happy Neighborhood um, project, I think is the name of it. It's a group that I was invited to. And so I'm really excited to have Tanisha here with me. We got connected in one of the Zoom rooms when we did a breakout session. And so we are just excited for some great conversation. I love networking and meeting great people. And so before we get into some great conversation, I want to give Tanisha the opportunity to introduce herself.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Yeah. So it was Happy Neighborhood Project that we were able to meet at. It's a pretty cool networking event. Networking is one of the things that I've started to do over the last year or so. And a lot of that was because I have two businesses that I run,
Mhm.
and I was looking for a way to level up and to expand my reach in a way that I hadn't previously done in my life before. So for me, that was networking. Networking was something that I always kind of shied away from. So the businesses that I have, one is called The Lofty Entrepreneur, and that one is all about helping small business owners to um, streamline, monetize, better cash flow their business.
Mhm.
And I focus on the small businesses. And then the other business I have is called Rock Solid Financial. And that one is focused on helping people to be really strategic, specifically business owners. That's my niche. Helping them to be strategic when it comes to how they fund things for their business, right? So people really don't realize like insurance products can do more than just cover the thing that they're named for. So I love strategic uses of life insurance products specifically for business owners, for individuals as well. But you can cash flow your business. You can make your reserves do more. You can combine different strategies for
Mhm.
growth and retirement. So I love talking to people about those things.
I
So that's
love
a little
that.
bit about me.
Yeah, because a lot of people, when they start business, many people during this pandemic have just kind of been thrown into the
Yeah.
entrepreneur space, whether
Yes.
their job was eliminated or they just kind of saw a problem, solved it, and now it's like, oh my gosh, this thing is growing. What do I do next? So, what is one of the myths or issues that you see as like a low hanging fruit that many people don't realize that they could begin to get some income from when it comes to some of these financial avenues?
Are you talking about entrepreneurship or are you talking about using the insurance strategies kinds of
Yeah,
things?
with the insurance strategy, because I think a
So
lot of people don't know about that at all.
all right. So one of the big things with the insurance strategies is how do they fund, how do they start their business, how they get money. Okay.
Mhm,
First thing everybody thinks about, one, that they need a ton of money. And that's not the
mhm,
case. It just depends on what your dream is, what your vision is, right? So
mhm,
for some people, if your vision is a restaurant, yes, you're going to need larger amounts of capital to do that type of thing. But you might say, maybe instead of starting with a restaurant, maybe I start with a food truck, or maybe I start with an installation at, a location that has great traffic. Same concept, but you're doing it at a smaller scale to go ahead and get starting versus putting off the dream until you get a huge amount of money. Now, for those who do need the larger amounts of money, again, the place that they typically go is for a loan.
mhm,
It's necessary sometimes. Other people's money, right? It's
mhm,
powerful when you use it right. But what they don't realize is they'll say, well, I don't have anything. I don't have any assets. I don't have any revenue to put it up against. But guess what? It's an asset that's probably the most inexpensive asset that everybody can access as long as they have decent health. Life insurance, right? It's called
mhm,
doing a collateral loan. So sometimes what lenders will do is they will actually accept a life insurance policy as collateral for the loan that you want to take out. So say that you need $100,000, loan for whatever you're trying to do. You get $100,000 life insurance policy. If that loan is for 10 years, you get a 10-year life insurance policy. Now, that means you have to pay your life insurance premiums, but say you're 50 years old, right? 50 years old, good health, non smoker. You can get a term life insurance policy for less than $100. So, basically, if this is a way to get in. and get the things you need to do to really kind of grow your money. So that's one strategy that I would say people really don't think about when they're starting that business. The other thing is tapping into their 401ks, right?
Mhm.
It's called rollover for business startups.
Mhm.
So if you are using a portion of your 401k to start a business, then you're not susceptible to the same penalties as if you just took the money out just directly.
Mm.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then there's also insurance strategies where, again, rolling that money over into an insurance product then begins to make it accessible. So then you can spend it and you don't have as many tax implications and fees. People just have to think a little bit outside of the box, out of the normal straight and narrow in order to do it.
I love that. I mean, this is really good because I think we have Elizabeth here, and she is somebody that I'm going to connect you with because she's like, I need to talk to her. And I think this is important. You know, we need to think about different strategies because a lot of people feel like I don't have A, B, or C, so it's just not going to work for me. You
Right.
know, they stop their dreaming and they just think, you know, it has to be this hard way of getting it done, and they are not able to be their fulfilled selves because they're not
Right.
doing what they enjoy or love. So I
Right.
love that you brought that up.
Thank
Now,
you.
when it comes to networking, so we met at a virtual event.
Yeah.
What are some tips that you would give people because you have two different types of businesses? And
Right.
so a lot of people feel like, you know, how do I position myself? Because, you know I do a lot of things because
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of kids, y'all. So I got to have multiple streams of income. But what tip would you give people who are into different businesses when it comes to networking, how to show up?
So it's a strategy, right?
Mhm,
So you have to go in with a specific intention and a strategy.
mhm,
So for me, the way I do it is um, it is possible for me to have combined my business concepts. Obviously, people who are working on, starting their business, they need advice and they may want to know kind of the cash flow side of things with the insurance products. But
mhm,
I've chosen to separate them. And that was an intentional strategy.
mhm,
So typically, when I go to a networking event, I literally have certain networking events. I talk about the lofty entrepreneur. Other networking events, I focus on talking about rock solid financial. Now, if people look me up, they're going to find both. I'm okay with
mhm,
that. But
mhm,
my point is when I'm introducing, my intention is to introduce that particular audience for that particular networking group to those particular products and services to get that particular group of people to know me for that thing. And then
mhm.
as they get to know me, then I can introduce other things. And it's the same really for any business owner. If you have multiple things going on, you decide, okay, what's the thing that most people gravitate to me for? Or
Mhm.
what do I want to be known most for? One of those two options. You choose that thing, and that becomes your talk track, your main talk track, and how you present yourself. And then from there, as people come into your fold, you can introduce them to the other things that you have. But you don't just throw everything out them at the beginning, because if you're talking a mile a minute, I do this and this and this and this, and then I do this, they're like, you know, and that's how they feel. And then when it's all said and done, they're like, oh, yeah, she was great. She does a lot. They don't
Ex
remember anything. It's too much. But if you
exactly.
go in with that one thing and you kind of stick with that, you become
Mhm.
known for that thing. And then when people come to you, as they know you, you can open up more and give them more.
I love that. Now, so when you're determining how to narrow down that one thing, do you have certain days of the week that this is the lofty entrepreneur day and this is whatever day? How do you determine with a lot of these different places how to show up?
So that's the ideal way to do it. I am quite behind you when it comes to children, but I am a mompreneur. I homeschool my kids. So though I set it up, my schedule up to try to be very, segmented and, regimented, it doesn't
Mhm.
work that way. Kids want what they want
So
when they
true.
want.
So
So
true.
so in general, yes, I literally have certain things on my calendar. So those regular events that I know that I'm going to participate in specifically for the lofty entrepreneur, they're on my calendar and they
Mhm.
just stay there. Same thing for rock solid financial. Then when it comes to my actual booking calendar, I live by my calendar these days. Like
Mhm.
literally my husband wanted to do something else on these 2 days. And he's telling the kids, oh, we're about to do this. And I'm looking at him, I'm looking at my calendar. I'm like, no, we're not. Like I'm like, you gotta let me know ahead of time because I'm not gonna just, scrap my calendar because you want to do something on the fly.
Mhm.
So for me, I put it on the calendar and that helps me to separate. And oftentimes, a lot of days I am flipping back and forth. That's my life. Mornings for
Mhm.
me are, homeschool with the kids. And then afternoons is where I usually kick in and I'm doing business. What I'm doing for business depends on the day. If it's an event day for the Lofty Entrepreneur where I'm speaking at an event, or if I am, doing networking for that event, then that's what that day tends to be, at least for the afternoon part of the day. And then the evening time, after the kids are down, after the house is all settled, that might be time that I put in some extra work on Rock Solid Financial. And then it
Mm.
flips for the days that, are days I'm networking for Rock Solid Financial.
I love that. Now, so talk to us about some of these income producing activities. So I definitely resonate with your story. I'm glad that my kids are not homeschooling anymore, though, because I still have six that are going to be going to school in August. But, you're juggling the homeschooling, different things with the kids. You've got two different businesses. And
Mm-hmm.
so, how do you break up your income producing activities? What are some of the things that you feel like are non-negotiable that you have to do every
Mm-hmm.
day in order for your business to continue to be successful?
So for every business, the main two things that you have to do are you have to have a strategy. That's number one,
Mhm,
and it has to be intentional. My phrase is intentional strategic action. So you have to know what your intention is. Based on the intention, you create a strategy, and based on that strategy, you take action and execute. And so for you, for me, it's kind of like it's a challenge, but I would say that the main things are you have to market your business
mhm,
and you have to, which means it could be as simple as basically making sure you tell X amount of people per day about your business. So it
mhm,
doesn't have to be, a major thing. Obviously, if you have certain systems going, then you can, like social media and things like that, or advertising that goes on its own. But if
mhm,
you don't, at minimum, you make a decision. I'm going to talk to at least, or I'm going to put my offer out there for my business to at least 5 platforms or 5 people or however it is. Um, so marketing your business and then lead generation. So lead generation, whatever your strategy is, if it's networking, if it's ads, if it's um, if it's direct outreach, if it's email marketing, whatever that thing is, choose at least one, and you must do those every single day or on a certain schedule so that it's always out there. So you're building your pipeline. And it's like farming. Let's be real.
mhm,
You have to
mhm,
plant seeds. If you're a new business, there is going to be season where there's nothing. And you might have certain things that pop up, like, oh, a surprise, here's a customer. Oh, great. And you feel great about it. And then boom, drops off. But that's just part of kind of revving up the business. But you continue to plant seeds even when there's no fruit so that down the line there will be fruit, because there will come a time when there's a harvest system. There will come a time when all those seeds you've been planting will begin to pay off, but you have to be willing to endure and you have to go in knowing that.
Love that. I think that is so true and totally agree with that, because it is the marathon and not the sprint.
Absolutely.
So, just in your daily routine, because a lot of people are like, what? Homeschooling two businesses, girl, how are you doing it? I get that all the time. So, for those that are watching, we have Andrea, Cecilia, Denise, and Elizabeth. What are some tips that you can give them about just your ideal day, things that you do every day, your type of schedule?
So in an ideal day, which every day is not ideal, so not
Right.
perfect. But in an ideal day, I would wake up in the morning and either go out for a walk with my kids, or I will. My husband bought me this wonderful handy dandy at home kind of workout series of workouts. I would get up and go ahead and do that. and then start the kids' school. I typically start that at around 8:30 in the morning, and I
Mhm.
give them till about 12:30 to finish. So I'm working, working with them on their work, and then 1 o'clock I switch. That's the switch time. I switch over to business. So business is reserved for the afternoons only. Only very few exceptions. Like my calendar, people can't book on my calendar in the morning. So
Mhm.
if somebody gets a morning appointment, it's because it's a special circumstance or a client that can't meet any other time. And so I really protect my calendar time. My days are over by 4 for work days as far as with other people. So my afternoons are working with other people and appointments and things like that for the most part. 4 to 7, I am, 4 o'clock, I'm usually in the kitchen, starting to clean up the kitchen from the day because the house is a wreck by then. That's the thing. Like I can't be cleaning up the house all day. I won't get any work done. So I pretty much kind of
Exactly.
just digest it and say, okay, it's going to be a hot mess until later. And then, so I'll make dinner, wash all that stuff. And then usually by 7, I'm wrapping up dinner. Then I go right into cleaning up the house. Then after that, it's, kids starting rounding, settling them down to eventually get them to bed. And then once they're settled and asleep, then usually I'll put in another, maybe 2 hours or so of working on something before I head to bed.
I love that. Now, so what are the ages of your kids?
10, 7, and 3.
Okay, that's good. All right. So I think that is wonderful. I think, I love what you're saying about strategy because I'm all about that. I think, and I love that whole thing about the kitchen being a mess. It so
Mhm.
resonate with
Yeah,
that
yeah. Like I
because when you're in work mode, it's like you got tunnel vision. They got all kind of stuff going on, getting in and out of the kitchen, having snacks, stuff on the counter. I mean, I can
Yeah.
just envision it.
I mean, no lie, literally before this interview, I had finished up a call. I had finished up with a call. The kids were knocking on the door like, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm like, okay, I got you. I'm looking at the clock. Mom's going. I'm already like, all right, what you want? What you want? Nope, can't have that. That takes too long. Let's go. Boom, 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 boom. You need to wash your plate, put it in the dishwasher, doom. Slide in the chair. Hey, how you doing? That that's how it goes.
So true. And it's good. Look, it's good when you got pajama pants on while you recording, you know?
It's good to be able to do that 100%. I
Love
did get
that.
dressed for you though. No pajama pants. You gotta
Oh, I
feel,
love it.
feel.
I love it. So, I mean, this is good stuff because I think a lot of people wear themselves out. They go into burnout, trying to do all these things. And, when it's just them. Now,
Mhm.
I tell people all the time if I had a maid or a couple nannies, of course, I would expect my house to be 100%,
Yeah.
because I have help. But if you realize that, and people say, you've got older kids, I mean, when they want something, they're helping.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And I got grown ones, okay? They're
yeah,
like, you gotta bribe them to go pick their siblings up, with their car. I mean, it's crazy, okay?
absolutely. And that was something, I mean, no lie, I had to get used to it.
Mhm,
Um I like to try to have things, in order. It'll stress
mhm.
me out, to see things, but I'm by kid 3, it was just like, oh, whole bag of cereal in the corner over there. Okay, we'll get that. Mom's got a call. We'll get that later. You
It
know,
is so true. I was on a Clubhouse call one time, and, normally I do those things in my office, but I just happened to be in the main area, and I was thinking I was just gonna be listening. They pulled me up there, and so when I got on the call, I was going like this to one of my kids, and so one of the ladies said, "Hey, I know you're a mom." She said, "I heard that snapping in the background."
yep, doing the snap, and you were on. If you were on Clubhouse, you were probably doing the face too, doing that face, looking at him like,
Exactly.
you know, the
So
whole
true.
whole communication, a whole statement, paragraph with one look. Yeah,
It is
exactly.
so true. It's so true. Well, so this has just been wonderful. I think a lot of people can resonate with some of the things, and it helps us to feel better about our business and knowing that time blocking is important. There are going to be times when, you just can't do it all. Everybody talks about balance, and I'm like, hey, that is just an illusion.
Yeah.
You got to go from one thing to the next. So,
Well, and
and I welcome them to ask questions if they have any
sure.
while we're talking. But what are some books and things that you're reading or podcasts or something that you're like, look, this is just part of my daily routine and it is just got to be there?
To be honest, my reading tends to be at night.
Mhm.
Literally when I'm laying in bed after I've done everything else, I literally will get my phone and I'll just start swiping through news. I'll find articles. So there's not
Mm.
a particular book that I'm doing right now. My husband has gotten me a couple audio books,
Mhm.
um, but I there's not a particular one that I'm reading right now. I just kind of go with the flow, and then when I do, because most days I don't get to watch any sort of TV or anything. And once upon a time, I produced movies and
Oh.
TV, and so that's kind of my passion. That's my escape. So when I have a chance to mellow out, typically I am watching some sort of guilty pleasure on TV. Um,
Mm.
and then when it comes to education for the business, that's pretty much ongoing kind of thing. So that's me on the phone swiping and reading and scanning articles. Like, I'm good for scanning stuff. I'm good for jumping on webinars, learning
Mhm.
some things from lots of different people. So that's what
I
I
love
do.
that. Yeah, now, so Celia, I think she joined us a little later when you
Okay.
kind of gave that analogy about the life insurance for a business loan.
Right.
So she has a question about that.
Okay. So I see I want to know how to use my life insurance to get a business loan. So if you have an existing policy, right? It depends on the type of policy, it depends on your situation, depends on the type of loan. So it would be good for us to talk directly.
Mhm.
But in general, I will say typically banks will allow, some banks, you have to check with the lender that you want to work with and find out, do they allow what's called a collateral loan? Okay. If they allow a collateral loan, that's the one I mentioned about earlier. There are other
Mhm.
ways, but this is the most simple to explain. If they allow that, then whatever amount that you are trying to get from the bank, you would get a life insurance policy for that same amount. And whatever the term period is for that loan, you would get the life insurance policy for that. Now, life insurance doesn't come in like a 5-year option. So the
Okay.
minimum would be 10. But the beauty is that once the loan is paid off, if you didn't if you, as long as you lived, because basically the
Mhm.
loan will pay off, the life insurance policy will pay off the loan in the case that you pass away. So that's how it's collateralized. But presuming that you lived and healthy and all that, the life insurance policy is still yours to do with. So if it's a term policy and you keep it through the 10 years, if it has a conversion option, you can convert it into life insurance for yourself. If you don't want to do that and you just want to let it go, you can let it go. If it's a cash value, a permanent policy that builds cash value, well, you spent the last 10 years paying into that policy. So you've been building cash value over those 10 years while you still had that same policy that was providing security for you to get the loan in the first place. So that's a little bit about how that kind of concept works on that strategy.
I love that, because I think when people think collateral loans, it's about the car and the house.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even explore some of the other options. So,
Right.
you mentioned life insurance. What are some other things that maybe people are not even aware would fall into that collateral category?
So, I mean, in general, you're right. Most people, when they're putting up collateral, they're thinking about their actual assets that they have.
Mhm.
In general, don't do the house. Don't do the house ever, unless
Mhm.
you are in dire straits medically and cannot, in any way, shape, or form, get a life insurance policy. Don't ever do the house. That's your residence. You don't want to be on the street if stuff goes wrong. Okay. Um, so just don't do that. Um, as far as, are you asking me other ways they can use insurance products,
Or
or
like other collateral, because I think, the fact that you mentioned this insurance, I think a lot of people aren't aware that, oh, I can get this type of policy and that can collateralize this loan.
right?
So are there other things besides life insurance that they could use as a substitute for collateral besides a house
Um,
or a car? That's the only thing that I
so
think.
generally, I'm going to say no. Now,
Okay.
I'm not a lender, so I don't know all of their,
Okay.
requirements outside of that. The reason that life insurance works and typically can be an acceptable option is because it is what's thought of as a tier one asset, which means
Mm.
it is equally as good as cash, better
Ah.
than homes, better than cars, better than jewelry, those types of things, because all of those things lose value. And if the
Mm.
person defaults on paying those, then the bank loses.
I
However,
see.
with a life insurance policy, the contract that you create with the life insurance company is that as long as you pay your premiums and as long as you were honest when you filled out this application, then whatever happens, we have to pay you this money. Now, if you don't pay your premiums, you're breaking the contract, all deals are off. But
Mhm.
so what banks realize is that come heck or high water, they're going to get their money. Either you're going to pay them, or if you pass away, that policy in place, they're going to get their money immediately. So if you had, again, normally for a collateral loan, you're doing the same amount, okay,
Right.
of the loan. But if you did it, say you did it for a higher amount, say you were doing a cash value policy because you wanted to build money, build cash
Mhm.
beyond, um, beyond what was necessary. Heaven forbid you pass away, okay? Or you just have some sort of illness. If you end up taking money out of the policy to live off of, like a chronic or critical illness, that's called
Mhm.
living, they will get paid off. So
Mm.
they will get paid off when if you were to like pass away. So say, if you ended up taking out, you had a $200,000 loan, you ended up taking out $50,000 to help you with a chronic illness that you had, that you were going through. Your policy amount would decrease to 150,000, but that
Mhm.
100,000 that the bank is owed, if you passed away or if you couldn't pay off that loan, you can turn that policy over to them. And then
Okay.
it becomes an asset. You can also, if it's a cash value policy, you can also sell them. So people
Mm.
don't realize that as well. That's not advised. I mean, unless you have other, coverages in place. But
Right.
um, the reality is like a cash value policy has value to you as well as to other people. So there are
Love it.
companies that specialize in that as well. So that's another way to start, to start have a cash value policy that's been building cash value. Say, maybe you were a kid and your parents bought you a policy. Well,
Mhm.
some of those policies, they have cash in them. So you need to start a business, you need $20,000. Guess what? You can tap into that.
Yeah. That's good stuff. Well, this has been very informative. I have really enjoyed this conversation. So, what is the best way for the audience to get a hold of you?
So the best way is to just reach out to me through social media.
Mhm.
If you are wanting to connect with me and you're on LinkedIn and you want to connect with me regarding Rock Solid Financial and talking about those things, that is the best platform. I'm on there as Tanisha Coffey, Coffey. If you are wanting to connect with me for the Lofty Entrepreneur, you can connect with me on Facebook. And I'll provide my links for you. So for Rock Solid Financial, it's rocksolidfinancial.co for the website there. You can, connect with me through that site, and the loftyentrepreneur.com for that business.
Awesome. And then, what final thoughts would you like to leave with everybody? This has really been very informative. And I want to thank again all the people that have joined the conversation because this has been a great one.
Well, thank you so much. I think I really want people to begin to think beyond what they think they can do.
Mhm.
A lot of times we limit ourselves with our own beliefs. We tell ourselves no before we even try, or we tell ourselves we can't, or
Mhm.
we say, I can't do it because of this. And I want people to kind of turn their thoughts around and say, I must do it because of this. So if it's business and you need to be in business because you need another stream of income from your job, or maybe that needs to be your income, I need you to say, I must figure this business out. And then
Mm.
you come talk to me. The Lofty Entrepreneur name, the word lofty is there for a reason. I'm a strategist. I figure ways to do the things that need to be done based on where you are. And the same thing goes for the insurance. You need to say, I must figure out a way to be able to do better with my business. And if the traditional routes don't seem open to you,
Mhm.
then we come and we find another way. We talk and we use a strategy and we figure it out.
Mhm.
I'm
I love
fairly
that.
confident we can do that.
I
Yeah.
love that. Well, thank you so much, Tanisha. I'm so glad that we got connected. This has been
Thank
great,
you.
great insights, and definitely would probably have you come back again. We've got all these different times of the year, as it gets to be the holidays or the beginning of the year, people need to start fresh with a strategy. So we would love to have you come back to kind of give us some insight over that.
I would love that anytime. Anytime.
Awesome. Well, thank you to our guests that have joined us. Thank you guys so much. And if you got value out of this video, share it. This helps Tanisha to get more information out there about her business and what she's got going on. I think many people can benefit from finding ways that they can invest more into their own businesses so that they can serve more people. So share the video. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments and we'll be sure to get those to Tanisha and reach out to her. Click on her profile on different social media platforms, especially LinkedIn. Just connect with her and get the conversation started. So much we can learn from simply having a conversation. So I encourage you all to do that today. All right. So thank you guys again for watching, and we will see you guys on the next episode. Bye for now.